Happy Saturday, everybody. This is a fun little treat. I'm working on the weekends now, so because I'm on a roll with my Facebook Lives, and I do best with things when I do them like super frequently, I decided that I wanted to get on Facebook Live today and chat with you about a topic that's been on my mind lately, which is raising your rates in your business and charging more money. And I noticed this kind of from both ends, from being in a place where I'm doing that, also from being a consumer of other products and services. And I've realized a lot of things over the years, and my perspective on this has changed a lot over the years as I've gained experience and grown my business and changed and evolved as a human being. So I realize that, well, let me back up and just kind of tell where I used to be with this. A few years ago, I made a decision that I was going to not be the person who had like the really high-end e-course and who was doing that model, because I felt like it made information inaccessible to people who were at my level or just starting out. And I felt like, why can't, if you really want to help people with your products and services, hi everyone who's joining. I see we have 4 people here now, which is awesome it keeps jumping in and out. But if you are here and you hear me, say hello in the comments, because I always feel like I don't know who you are, mysterious people. A few years ago, I decided that I was going to make my resources more accessible to people who were like me and who didn't start business with a ton of money and who didn't just like quit a great corporate job to start their business. And I was just starting out in my adult life. And hi, Tressa. And I didn't know how I would afford these courses. So I was like, I'm going to make my information more accessible to people. So I did. And I don't regret that. I think it was a really great way to get started. I think it was a fair way to get started, because I also think that it would have been very out of alignment and silly, and it wouldn't have worked if I had charged like really high prices 3 years ago. And it's still not totally in alignment with my brand to do like super, super high-end coaching. That's just not the market that I'm serving. So what I want to say is that things have changed and things have evolved. Hi, Jess. Hey, Gabriella. Things have evolved. And what I've learned is that as I've raised prices and raised rates and even priced myself out of certain markets, maybe certain levels, is I've realized that for people getting started, that's what my free content is for, and that I love giving away a lot for free. I personally love doing really great, I try to do more in-depth blog posts. I don't know if you all feel, thank you for all like the hearts and likes that are floating across the screen. I really enjoy doing that. And I'll be honest, this year, I've been kind of half-assed in business just because I've been doing a lot of things in my life and personal life and moving across the continent. So it's been a little harder, but I'm getting back on that horse right now. But I like to do really in-depth free content. I just did a webinar this week. I really care about my trainings. I really want them to be powerful. It's the best compliment I get when people say that. People tell me all the time, you know, I want to do free trainings like yours, or you've inspired me to give more freely to my audience and things like that. Hi, Mukesh. How are you? Wow, Saturday is clearly like a great time to talk about business on Facebook. Who knew? Hi, everybody. Make sure to say hi if you're joining me. So I realized that as I wanted to give more and more away for free, that as long as I was doing that, then I feel okay charging more and more for when people get access to me, and that I had to build those boundaries there. Hi, Conrad. I had to build those boundaries there, because if I don't, then it's like, well, why would you pay for my paid content? So I had to make sure that there was a big enough difference. And I also wanted to say, hey, look, I have free content for you until you're at the phase where you can afford my paid content. So my goal is that if you just use my free content, you should be able to earn more money so that you can then afford that next level, because you're going to do better with the paid content. You're going to get bigger results if you're doing the Give Your Clients course, or using the sales page kit, or using the launch copy kit, Those are my only things that I sell right now. So that's all. I normally have like all these different products, but this is also why we bundled and retired all of our low-end products, because I was like, it either, and I know like Denise Thomas, who I just did a big affiliate promo for her boot camp, she talks about this a lot, and I was very confused by this when she first started saying it, but she says she's free or really expensive. And I'm not sure that I'm like, I would say I'm free or really expensive, but what I am saying is I'm free or you're going to have to invest. And another thing I want to say here is that I had to look at my own experience, my own business. So here I was trying to be really accessible. Thanks, Jess. Jess, you've been like such a great cheerleader this week. Jess joined us in our sales page kit and launch copy kit bundle, and she's just left like the nicest comments and messages and is super active. And I know she's going to be getting some great results and probably working on her copy like today. So she's probably stayed up all night working on something. I wouldn't doubt it. Yes, thanks, Conrad. Yeah, so I'm just thinking through this right now as I'm saying it. So I'm glad that resonated with you, but that's kind of how I see it. So I've had like even contacts and friends that I've talked to who are like, oh my God, I really want to get your bundle, but I can't afford it. I don't feel bad about that, because what I say is use my free content for a couple of months and you'll be able to afford the paid content, or you'll be at a point where you'll understand enough that how powerful the things I'm teaching are, that when you get the paid content, you'll be ready for it. So in the sense that like you'll be mentally ready for it, you'll understand how to use it and get the most out of it, and you won't have that kind of like fear around, is this going to work? Because I know it's going to work for you. It's just you have to get there in your own mindset. So what I was saying was, in my own business, I invest a lot of money in my business, and I invest, like Tressa's here, I think, and she's probably like distracted putting her children to bed. But Tressa is I tell people all the time, she basically runs my business, and I'm happy to pay her lots and lots of money to do that because I see the value. I invested in the very beginning of my business, I invested in e-courses. I invested in Marie Forleo's B School, and I am not an affiliate for B School. So I'm not saying that because I want you to buy my bonus. I do not do bonuses for B School. And Conrad says, next level is I have paid content that's for higher level work that you should be able to afford when you've achieved that level. Yes, 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 yes. So I realized in my own business that, yay, you get to hear me chat more, Tressa. I'm willing to invest. And so why am I then going out and saying, oh, but I'm not going to make people spend money to get my stuff? Because I know that there's a mental shift that happens when you actually spend money. And I know that you have to spend an amount of money that scares you in order for it to be worth your while. Because if you're spending an amount of money that doesn't scare you, you just don't get the most out of it. You just don't get this, you're not going to get the same out of it as if it kind of scares you and is one of those very transformative, like quantum leaps. These are quantum leaps. So for me, like hiring Tressa was a quantum leap for my business. Joining B School back in 2012, quantum leap. I was just telling someone this story yesterday, how I was deciding whether or not, first of all, I was working at a coffee shop part-time, making minimum wage, which at the time was like $7.35 an hour. So I just don't have patience for people who are like, I don't have the money, or this is more than my rent. I don't care how much your rent is. You don't need to justify it. You make the decision if you're not going to purchase this thing. It doesn't offend me if you're not going to buy my programs, but don't try to justify it to me. If your answer is no, it's no, but don't give me this list of reasons, because I can find a counter argument for every single one of those reasons if you really wanted to do the program. So you can say like, I'm not ready for that, or this isn't for me, and that's fine. I don't want to get those results. I'm not ready to have that quantum leap. I'm too scared. I'm prioritizing something else right now. Those are legitimate answers. But when people, not you, when people tell me things like, oh, my husband will be mad at me, or, oh, I'd have to put it on a credit card. And I'm not encouraging people to go into credit card debt at all. I don't encourage anything. I'm just saying that's a decision you're making. It's not a black and white, right or wrong thing. Oh, this is more than my rent. Every business thing I've ever invested in has costed more than my rent. I've never asked my my boyfriend, my partner of 7.5 years, whether or not I could buy something for my business. So my point is that it's a mindset thing, and that when you charge more money for what you do, you're actually doing your audience a service, and you're asking for people to be in a different mindset to say yes. And so there's a couple more points I want to make on this. So number one is people value what they pay for. I'd like everyone who's here to let me know, what was the last thing you paid for? What was the last thing you paid for that was like a big thing for you? So for me, it was moving here to Vancouver into this apartment, which is 3 times the rent that I was paying before. Actually, it's three times. I'm going to go 3. It might be more than that. 3 times the price that I was paying 3 months ago for rent. I'd love to know what your last big scary expense was, because what I want to say is that moving in here, I care way more about I am a different person than I was there. Now, if I had just kind of a little bit upgraded into like a little bit better place, I wouldn't have a shift, right? I wouldn't have a big shift. If it was only like $100 or $200 more, I wouldn't have had a big shift. So what was the last big scary expense that you had? And I think there's like a couple minute delay on this, so I'm gonna awkwardly pause and drink my coffee. And maybe drink some more coffee. Tressa, yes, is in the process of doing new website and photos and like really A++ pro branding. So that's a really good one. Who else has one? I want to see, we got 12, 11 people here. I want to see what else, what was the last, I'm not going to continue talking until I get 2 more answers. What was the last big scary expense? These are interactive Facebook Lives, guys. I don't like to just talk to the void. Jess says purchasing the bundle was something I had to think about, but knew it would be worth so much more than the investment. And I love what you said on when you made the comment on our Facebook page. I can't see it right now. Let me see if I can pull it up so I can read it. I just thought it showed that mindset. So it's not always about the dollar amount. It has nothing to do with the dollar amount. Dollar amounts are random and like it literally doesn't matter what the actual number is. It's all about your mind. It's all about how you see it. So what Jess said was, and excuse me, Jess, for like calling you out and reading this out loud, but I just thought it was I love how you kind of talked through this decision-making process. So you said, all day yesterday, I couldn't stop thinking about the launch copy and sales page bundle. So that's number one, a big sign that you want something is if you can't let it go. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about it, and this morning I pulled the trigger. I can tell by the way you explained that it was like, I know this is going to make a difference. It's a big investment, but because it was causing those kind of mental, going loops, what's the word I'm looking for, to jump through. What is the phrase that I'm going to go for here? Because it was requiring you to do that, it means that you are taking it more seriously than someone who's like, it's a drop in the bucket, right? So it would be a very different investment for them. Megan says, thank you, Megan, for also participating. So Megan says, I invested in a virtual co-working mastermindy experience. Awesome. So that's a big one. I remember when last year I started going to the WeWork space in Montreal. That felt like a really big deal for me to like pay to go to an office space. That was like very symbolic for me. So it's about these symbolic purchases. So number one, people value what they pay money for. Now, I would like you to think about on the contrary, on the flip side of this, what's the last like thing you bought? Just random thing. Because I bought sushi last night. I spent like $30 on sushi. And I don't feel like that like really made a big difference in my life. I didn't have to really think about it. Conrad says, I just paid $1,400 for a coaching experience. Yeah, that's a big one too, right? I remember my first coach I hired, I spent $2,000, and $2,000 was my threshold then, right? Because I had spent $2,000 on B-School, and then it was like $2,000 in coaching, and then it was like I was at this like $2,000 is my big point that I can't seem to spend money on anything that's more than that. And then when I started doing coaching with Natalie McNeil, and the program I did was like $6,000, that then became like this huge investment for me. And and having those expenses and then getting used to having those expenses every month. So there's a big difference between things that you buy no problem on Amazon when you have like your one-click checkout, which for me, it's the books. It's all the books. I've got to disconnect my credit card from that because I'm just like, yeah, $12, no problem. And then I get nickel and dimed versus the big hefty experiences that are really going to shift your mindset. So for me, buying a book, I love books, but I don't get like a huge shift in mindset because I spent $12 on a book, right? Like the information could literally be the same from the coaching session and the book, but I'm going to have a very different outcome from that, or from the e-course or the book. I'm going to have a very different experience going through that. Yes, investing in yourself is always a good idea, and you want to be smart. I'm not saying to spend money you don't have. I'm not saying that you should like put your family at risk. Please don't do that. What I'm saying is to push yourself, because a lot of times what you can do is you can manipulate your budget and you realize, oh, I could actually reduce my cell phone bill to afford this expense. Or maybe we could like budget a little better for our groceries so that we can then do this other thing. Or like for example, I don't have a car, and we might, like we're thinking about saving up to buy a car, which, can I be honest, like I would want to buy in cash. Because I don't want that monthly expense of a car payment. But like, so my monthly transportation expense is like $100. So I free up that money for other things to be able to do other things with that $100 a month, or with all that money I'm not spending, because I'm only spending $100 a month. Okay, so the second thing I want to say is not only do people value what they pay for more, but they get better results when they've paid more for something. So whenever I increase my prices, people start getting better results from the same program. Whenever you increase your prices, people will start getting better results from the same content. Whenever you increase your prices, people will start getting better results from your free content, because they start seeing you as being a higher level. They start taking you more seriously, and they actually start valuing your free content more because they realize how pricey your paid content is. So that is a good one. That's a really good thing to remember. And people show up. So right on that same, like it's all in the same vein, right? But people show up when they spend more money. People show up when they spend more money. So you'll notice, like when I was way back in the day, like I guess it was like 2011, 2012 when I was starting out, I was also a French tutor, and I was also tutoring like AP English, and I was helping high school students write their college application essays. And I started my French tutoring business charging like $15 an hour because I had never made more than $8.50, like minimum wage. So I was like, oh my God, that's like double. That's double. That's so much. $15 an hour. And then I slowly put it higher and higher until I think I got to 50. And I had people say like, oh, that's too much. And I was like, yeah, you're not for me. And then I suddenly didn't have people canceling sessions. I stopped having no-shows. My students were getting, like, they were just more serious. They would come to their sessions more prepared because their parents were spending more money and they were taking it more seriously. So my tutoring did not change, but the results people were getting were different. People were showing up. They weren't canceling. They weren't, doing things at the last minute. They were taking it more seriously. Just as I have 3 tiers in my program, the more expensive tiers always get better results. Absolutely. And it's not because they are in a different place when they start. Like I've noticed this with Yay for clients because we have done mastery level in the past. So there's like I'm not going to say do it yourself because there's a lot of support, but then there's the mastery where they would have one-on-one coaching calls with me, and it was 3 times the price. And these people in mastery were often in the same level as people who didn't do mastery, but they got better results. And yeah, they got more support. Let's be honest. They got more support. So it was a little bit different. But the support I give is like validating what people are already thinking, is answering questions they could have asked in the Facebook group, but they're not asking them in the Facebook group. They're asking them to me personally. And so this is also great advice for you to realize, like, you could probably get a lot more out of programs if you just pretend you spend more than you did. Like, if you just mentally are like, if this were, just play this game with yourself. Thought experiment. Think of a program you just purchased. So for Jess, this could be the launch copy kit and the sales page kit. For Tressa, this could be her branding or her photo shoot. For Conrad, this could be your coaching experience. For Megan, this would be your virtual mastermindy thing that you're doing, which I'm very curious about. So pretend that you spent twice as much as you did on that, and like feel how that would feel to you. And how would you interact differently with the program if it had cost twice as much? Then you can go like, what if it was 10 times as much? How would you be interacting differently with this thing that you just invested in? So I could do this with my apartment if it was 10 times as much. Wow, I probably wouldn't have bought IKEA furniture. I probably would clean up my desk, because I would feel like I needed to like be a different person in that environment. So just some good tips here. So the last thing is that when you charge more money, you're limiting time wasters. And a time waster when you're first starting out is going to be different than a time waster when your business is growing and you're raising your rates and you're getting better at what you do. So somebody who might have been an ideal client for me 3 years ago would be a time waster now. And I'm not, time waster is probably like a rude thing to say, but it's just like someone who's like not ready, someone who's not going to be ready to put in the effort, because now that it's a bigger deal, now that it costs more, I don't have time to spend with people who aren't serious. And that's really my thing with my stuff is I don't have time to spend with people who aren't serious. I'm not very patient, to be honest. I am not a patient person. I like to work fast. And I'm not expecting people to be perfect. I'm expecting them to not make excuses. I'm expecting them to show up and do the work. Like I don't make excuses. And it goes back to like, are you letting your clients get away with behavior that you would never do? That behavior you would never, like, you wouldn't act that way, but you're letting other people act that way and making excuses for them. So I don't make excuses for not doing things. Like I often take more responsibility than I should. And maybe that's not a good thing, but I just cannot work with people who make excuses. I just can't, because it's just the way I was raised. Like in the sports and the activities that I did at a high level, I remember very specifically learning a lesson, and you guys are going to laugh at this, but I was in marching band, and it was like the most intense thing I ever did in my life in high school. And it was very serious. We were like best in the state. Like I was like not first. I was like second chair. I was like a leader in the marching band, and I took it really seriously. But I was also a figure skater, and sometimes marching band and figure skating would overlap, and there would be conflicts, and neither one forgave the other. So if I had to miss or if I had to be late for marching band because of figure skating, I was punished. And it wasn't like, oh, she is figure skating, it's okay. It's like, no, the rule is if you're late, you get deducted these points, or you have to do like push-ups, or you have to do like this random thing. If you're late to skating, you have this punishment. You're not skating in the next competition. We don't care that you have a good reason. It doesn't matter that you have a good excuse. If we make an exception for you, then we have to make an exception for everybody. So this is now a rule that I've put into place in business is we're not making exceptions anymore. Like we used to, like if people emailed after the time went out and they had like a really good reason, we would like let them in. And now I'm like, no, we don't make exceptions unless like we've made some kind of terrible error. We'll figure out how to handle that. But I realized, this is what I value and this is how I was trained, and I believe in that. I believe it can be a little military. Yes, band geeks unite. Yes. I went to band camp for like 7 years. And I was a flute player, so American Pie references, I'm familiar with all the references. I just don't do that. So for me, that's like serious people, serious pricing. That's the chat I wanted to have today. I realize this has been going on for like 25 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up, but I just wanted to have a conversation around this because I know a lot of times we can feel like if I want to help people, if I want to serve more people, then I should charge lower rates. And I really wrestled with this for a long time. That's why I was charging lower rates and I was offering lower end products. And what I realized is, this actually isn't helping other people more. This is letting them get away with murder. Like it's letting them not make the same investments that I had to make to learn the lessons that I needed to learn. You did 2 points. And I know that I'm actually serving people better by charging more. So that's what I wanted to say. Um, that's it. I'm going to end there. And thank you so much for joining me. This has been great. Clearly, Saturday is an awesome time to get on Facebook Live. And let me know if there's any other topics you'd like me to cover in a Facebook Live. You can just leave a comment in the thread, and I will do shoot one of them. Oh my God. And I will add it to our docket because I'm trying to treat this more like the Periscope experience when I used to be on all the time. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. And charge those high rates. Don't be afraid to charge because it's going to help your clients. They're going to get better results. And if you really want to help people, then you've got to charge money for it, even if you don't want to. Okay. Bye, everyone.